The courtroom buzzed with an undercurrent of palpable tension that seemed to electrify every corner of the room. As the judge took his seat at the bench, his eyes scanning the meticulously arranged documents before him, an anticipatory silence fell over the gathered crowd. Every subtle sound, the rustle of papers, the soft murmur of whispered conversations, and the steady clack of a gavel added to the charged atmosphere, building a sense of imminent confrontation. Spectators, reporters, and legal professionals alike sat on the edge of their seats, each person aware that this was no ordinary trial, but a high-stakes encounter that would soon reshape perceptions. In the midst of it all stood Elon Musk, the infamous billionaire whose mere presence had sparked a mixture of awe and skepticism. His calm, unreadable expression contrasted sharply with the heightened emotions swirling around him, as if he were a quiet force poised to disrupt the established order. The gallery was packed tightly, with every eye fixed on the judge, whose initial smirk hinted at a confident dismissal of Musk's defiant reputation. Yet, beneath that veneer of authority, an undercurrent of uncertainty lingered, whispers about whether this case might turn the tables on those who believed themselves untouchable. The tension was so thick that it seemed almost tangible, each participant in the courtroom acutely aware that the proceedings could pivot at any moment, transforming the legal stage into a battleground for justice and innovation. This charged environment, heavy with both expectation and apprehension, set the stage for a legal drama where every word and gesture carried the potential to redefine power and accountability. The prosecution's accusations were delivered with unrelenting force, aiming to portray Elon Musk as a billionaire who arrogantly believed himself above the law. In a courtroom charged with tension, the lead prosecutor stepped forward, his voice resonating with both confidence and disdain as he outlined the case against Musk. He claimed that Musk's actions, as well as the operations of his company, were not the product of innovative genius, but rather a calculated defiance of established legal norms. According to the prosecutor, Musk's behavior was emblematic of a deeper, systemic disregard for regulations, a deliberate flouting of laws designed to govern every citizen, regardless of wealth or status. With every gesture and carefully chosen word, the prosecutor argued that the evidence was overwhelming. He asserted that Musk's company had knowingly violated critical regulations, ignored procedural protocols, and operated with a brazen sense of impunity. This was not merely a case of corporate mismanagement, it was a textbook example of defiance against a system built on fairness and order. The prosecutor's rhetoric was laced with sarcasm as he mocked Musk's apparent confidence, insinuating that the billionaire treated the courtroom like one of his famed Twitter debates. "Are you planning to defend yourself? Or shall we have to explain legal terminology to you?" he challenged, provoking murmurs and a ripple of incredulous laughter through the audience. Every word was an attempt to strip away the veneer of technological marvel and business acumen that Musk had so carefully constructed. The prosecutor insisted that Musk's attitude of superiority had led him to believe that he was exempt from the responsibilities that come with operating within a legal framework. In doing so, he sought to galvanize the jury, urging them to see beyond the public persona and recognize a pattern of deliberate legal violations. His accusations were clear. Musk's disregard for the law was not a byproduct of innovative ambition, but an outright rejection of accountability, an act of hubris that demanded swift judicial action. Throughout the trial, despite the charged atmosphere in the courtroom and the barrage of accusations directed at him, Elon Musk maintained a remarkable composure that set him apart from the storm of emotions swirling around him. As the prosecutor's statements escalated in intensity and sarcasm, every participant in the courtroom found themselves drawn to Musk's unwavering calm. While the prosecution sought to paint him as an arrogant billionaire who believed he was above the law, Musk's demeanor was anything but defensive. His expression remained unreadable, his eyes steady and focused, revealing little of his internal thoughts. Sitting with his hands calmly folded on the table, Musk exuded a quiet confidence that spoke volumes. It was as if he had already anticipated every twist and turn of the proceedings, remaining unfazed by the charged rhetoric that filled the room. Even as the atmosphere grew increasingly tense and dramatic, he did not allow himself to be drawn into the theatrics of the moment. Instead, his silence was a deliberate choice, a measured response that underscored his belief in the strength of his legal arguments. His composed presence communicated that he was not merely a defendant under scrutiny, but a strategist in control of his destiny. In that moment, every subtle gesture, every maintained gaze, served as a silent rebuttal to the claims leveled against him. Musk's serene demeanor contrasted sharply with the heated exchanges occurring around him, highlighting his ability to remain calm and focused under immense pressure. It was this unruffled composure that would ultimately contribute to the shifting momentum of the trial, subtly challenging the prosecution's narrative and demonstrating that true strength often lies in the power of quiet conviction. Throughout the trial, his calm not only shielded him from the courtroom's intensity, but also underscored his profound understanding of proceedings. After a relentless build-up of tension, the proceedings took an unexpected dramatic turn that left everyone in the courtroom stunned. For the better part of the trial, the atmosphere had been a tense blend of anticipation and exasperation as the prosecutor laid out his case with a confident and scornful tone, while Elon Musk remained an enigmatic figure, silent and composed. Suddenly, with a calm yet profound statement, Musk broke his silence. His single sentence, a succinct blend of logic and subtle defiance, sent a shockwave through the room, silencing murmurs and halting the brisk pace of the prosecution's argument. The moment felt like a turning point in a tightly choreographed play, where every participant sensed a shift in the balance of power. The judge, who had appeared amused and assured, now paused, his demeanor changing from control to cautious reflection. The prosecutor's bravado crumbled as Musk's argument introduced a new perspective that questioned the very foundation of the case. A hush fell over the room as every word hung in the air, charged with the potential to redefine the trial. Reporters and spectators leaned forward, captivated by the sudden twist of events, as if witnessing a masterful reversal of fortune. Musk's logic began to dismantle the prosecution's narrative piece by piece, leaving no doubt that the case was on the edge of monumental change. In that instant, the courtroom transformed into a stage where reason and innovation challenged rigid tradition. The dramatic reversal not only shifted the momentum, but also redefined the stakes of the trial, setting the scene for what would become a landmark moment in legal history. Every eye in the courtroom fixed on this unexpected pivot, as both sides re-evaluated their positions. The sudden change instilled a new air of uncertainty and hope, redefining the trial's direction profoundly. Elon Musk's critical legal arguments unfolded with a precision and clarity that left little room for ambiguity, as he methodically dismantled the prosecution's narrative by scrutinizing the very legal texts they relied upon. With a calm assurance that belied the charged atmosphere, Musk began by asserting that the regulations in question were not only outdated, but fundamentally misaligned with modern technological realities. He argued that these laws were crafted in an era when the industry Musk now dominated did not even exist, making them inherently unsuitable for adjudicating cases that involve cutting-edge innovation. Musk drew attention to specific clauses, notably Section 42.3, pointing out that if these rules were applied without exception, his company would paradoxically find itself in violation of another federal mandate, a contradiction that underscored the flawed logic at the heart of the prosecution's case. He maintained that the legal framework was built on principles that, while sound in a bygone era, had become obsolete in the face of rapid technological progress. Moreover, Musk challenged the assumption that strict adherence to these archaic provisions would yield justice. Instead, he suggested that the legal system was being manipulated to target his company specifically, penalizing innovative behavior under the guise of enforcing outdated rules. His argument was both a defense of his actions and a broader indictment of a system unwilling to evolve. By highlighting the inherent contradictions within the legal text, such as the conflicting stipulations found in Section 43.1, which mandated that new regulatory standards should be developed for technologies falling outside the scope of existing rules. Musk illustrated that the law was caught in a logical paradox. This provision, he argued, not only negated the prosecution's claims, but also provided a clear legal basis for reconsidering the charges, given that the very structure of the law admitted the need for reform. In a particularly striking moment, Musk compared the application of these laws to an absurd scenario where modern electric vehicles were expected to comply with regulations designed for horse-drawn carriages. This analogy resonated deeply in the courtroom, as it vividly captured the impracticality and inherent unfairness of applying antiquated rules to contemporary issues. His dissection of the legal documents revealed that, rather than protecting public interest, the current legal framework was being used to stifle progress and innovation. By laying bare these contradictions, Musk forced the judge and jury to confront a fundamental question: should laws be interpreted and enforced based solely on historical precedent, or must they evolve to remain relevant in today's rapidly changing world? Ultimately, Musk's arguments transcended the immediate context of his trial. They became a compelling call for a legal system that embraces logical consistency and is capable of adapting to new realities. In exposing the flaws and contradictions within the existing legal framework, Musk not only defended his own actions, but also championed the broader cause of legal reform, arguing that a just system must update its rules to keep pace with the innovations that shape our society. In the midst of the high-stakes trial, a palpable shift began to ripple through the courtroom, signaling a dramatic change in both atmosphere and balance of power. Initially, the prosecutor's confident assertions had commanded the room, their unwavering tone and theatrical gestures setting a predictable narrative. However, as Elon Musk methodically presented his critical legal arguments, the dynamics in the room gradually transformed. The judge's earlier smirk and casual amusement gave way to a more deliberate, thoughtful expression as he scrutinized each point raised by Musk. The jury, once inclined to nod along with the prosecution's rhetoric, now exchanged glances filled with doubt and renewed interest. A hushed tension replaced the earlier bravado as Musk's logic began to dismantle the prosecution's case, exposing the inherent contradictions within the outdated regulations. The energy in the courtroom shifted noticeably. Skepticism turned to intense curiosity, and confidence yielded to careful re-evaluation of every argument. Even the prosecution's demeanor changed, their assured posturing eroding as the undeniable strength of Musk's reasoning came to light. The transformation was profound. What began as a battle of legal theatrics evolved into a rigorous interrogation of established norms. In that pivotal moment, the entire trial was redefined, with each participant realizing that the true balance of power was shifting, opening the door to a possibility that the verdict might not be as foregone as once assumed. This subtle yet undeniable shift reoriented the courtroom, leaving every observer with a sense that a new, unpredictable chapter right now had begun. After an intense legal battle marked by dramatic turns and razor-sharp arguments, the judge delivered a verdict that resonated far beyond the courtroom. In a surprising move, the court found no grounds to continue the case against Elon Musk, a decision that not only exonerated him, but also challenged the very foundations of the legal system. The judge's ruling exposed the inherent flaws and contradictions within outdated regulations, underscoring that the legal framework was ill-equipped to address the complexities of modern technological innovation. As the verdict was announced, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The confident demeanor of the prosecution crumbled, and even the judge's own tone evolved from assured dismissal to reflective consideration. Observers in the courtroom, from jurors to legal experts, recognized that this decision signaled a turning point, a moment when the forces of progress and rationality overcame entrenched traditionalism. Musk's success was attributed not merely to his personal acumen, but to his ability to highlight the logical inconsistencies in the law, comparing them to archaic rules meant for a bygone era. His arguments had dismantled the prosecution's case, prompting the judge to question whether enforcing such obsolete statutes was just. The implications of the verdict extended well beyond this individual case, sparking widespread debate among legal scholars and industry leaders about the need for comprehensive reform. Critics warned that if outdated laws continued to dictate modern affairs, innovation might be stifled. Ultimately, the decision was seen as a clarion call for updating legal standards, ensuring that justice remains aligned with the realities of today's dynamic, technology-driven world. This historic ruling not only redefined accountability for powerful figures, but also paved the way for a more adaptable and equitable legal future. The verdict thus resonated as both a personal vindication and a broader mandate for reform, inspiring transformative change for all. The case has sparked a broader conversation about the urgent need for legal reform, serving as a wake-up call that underscores the dissonance between an antiquated legal framework and the realities of modern technological and business innovations. This trial not only highlighted the contradictions inherent in applying centuries-old regulations to cutting-edge industries, but it also challenged the assumption that laws crafted for a bygone era remain adequate in today's rapidly evolving landscape. In essence, the proceedings illuminated how the legal system, steeped in tradition and historical precedents, often fails to keep pace with the innovations that define our current era. As Elon Musk methodically dismantled the prosecution's case, his arguments revealed that these outdated laws were not designed to govern the complex operations of contemporary corporations. Instead of serving justice, such regulations risked stifling innovation and inadvertently punishing progress. Legal experts and industry leaders have taken note, arguing that the rigidity of the current system creates an environment where truly innovative practices are either misunderstood or outright condemned because they do not neatly fit into archaic legal categories. Moreover, the courtroom battle has raised fundamental questions about fairness and accountability. If the laws governing modern technologies are inherently flawed or contradictory, how can justice be fairly administered? The case, therefore, has transcended its immediate context, evolving into a broader critique of a legal system that clings to its historical constructs at the expense of relevance and adaptability. It calls for a comprehensive reassessment of regulatory frameworks to ensure they reflect the realities of a digital, interconnected world where traditional boundaries are continuously redrawn. Advocates for reform argue that a more dynamic legal system should not only recognize but also embrace change, fostering an environment in which laws evolve in tandem with technological advances. This is not merely a debate about legal minutiae, it is a fundamental discussion about how society defines progress and accountability in the modern era. The implications of this case ripple outward, prompting policymakers, legal professionals, and the public to question whether clinging to outdated legal paradigms might, in fact, hinder societal advancement. Ultimately, the trial serves as a catalyst for reimagining a legal system that is as innovative and forward-thinking as the technologies and business models it is meant to regulate. A final verdict in a highly dramatic legal battle is never simply an end, but rather an invitation to deep reflection and ongoing dialogue. At the conclusion of the trial, the courtroom fell silent, not only because a contentious legal dispute had been resolved, but because a profound question remained. Should our laws be as adaptive and forward-thinking as the technologies they seek to govern, or must tradition always prevail? This case compels us to weigh the merits of time-honored legal principles against the pressing need for reform in a rapidly evolving world. Elon Musk's masterful challenge to outdated regulations revealed that a legal framework, though built on centuries of precedent, can become an impediment to progress when it fails to keep pace with innovation. As observers, we are urged to re-examine the assumptions that underpin our justice system and to consider whether rigid adherence to old rules might suppress creative solutions and stifle economic advancement. This call for reflection extends beyond the confines of the courtroom. It invites every citizen to engage in a broader conversation about how best to balance respect for historical legal wisdom with the necessity for modernization. By questioning the status quo, we open the possibility for laws that not only protect society, but also promote dynamic growth and ingenuity. Ultimately, the trial serves as a catalyst, urging us all to think critically about our future and to ask ourselves, is it time for our legal system to evolve in step with the world around us, or are we content to remain anchored in the past? This introspection is vital as it challenges every stakeholder, lawmakers, judges, citizens, to reconsider whether clinging to obsolete traditions serves justice or merely obstructs progress. Only by embracing thoughtful reform can our legal system remain fair, relevant, and forward-looking for all. In life, much like in that dramatic courtroom scene, we often find ourselves standing at the crossroads of tradition and progress. This narrative reminds us that the structures and beliefs we have held onto over the years, while built on a foundation of wisdom and experience, can sometimes hinder our ability to move forward when faced with new challenges. For an older audience who has witnessed the steady march of time, The key lesson is to remain open-minded and adaptable, even as we honor the values of the past. The story of the trial teaches us that rigid adherence to outdated rules may not always serve our best interests, and that there is great strength in questioning established norms with logic and insight. It emphasizes that true wisdom comes not from accepting things as they are, but from the courage to reassess and refine our understanding of the world. As we age, our experience becomes a treasure trove of lessons. Yet the ability to evolve remains crucial. Just as the courtroom balance shifted when critical legal arguments exposed the flaws in the old system, our personal growth often hinges on the willingness to challenge long-held assumptions. This process does not mean discarding tradition. Rather, it involves integrating the enduring principles of our past with the fresh perspectives needed to navigate today's complexities. Ultimately, the message is clear. Progress and tradition can coexist harmoniously when we apply thoughtful reflection to our actions. By embracing both our rich heritage and the necessity for change, we pave the way for a life that is not only reflective and meaningful, but also resilient in the face of new challenges.